you all had a good week and good weekend with, for those of you with kids with Halloween. For us, it was a really good week of reflection, a chance after 6 straight weeks to self-scout, first of all. It's where we started, and really digging into our own film and giving us time to take the time needed to study offensively, personnel plays, efficiency on plays, formations, tendencies, back sets, tight ends, wide receivers, all the different things, and to get some rest and recovery and be able to reset. On defense, same thing. You studying yourself, how you're defending formations, where are you having problems, what guys are doing well, and then to take that information and collect it, sit down as a staff and review it, and then put together, one-on-one conversations with players that have played a lot of reps and talk about our goals for our bye-week practices and how we can improve fundamentally with each player, and having a plan for them to do that, and then building a practice schedule that allows them the time to do that. And felt like we had a lot of success that way. It was really good. The players were awesome about where they needed to get better. And we had enough time really for the coaches and the players to hit the reset. It's the midway point of our year. And obviously we're 4-2, 6 of our games, or 4 of our 6 games were on the road where we were 50%, and the 2 games we had at home, we won. But a lot, I think, has gone on, mentally for coaches and players and staff. You take, the COVID, the absences, you're going to play, you're not going to play, you're going to play, you're not going to play. You open with Louisville on Thursday. No, you open with them on Wednesday. No, we're going to change the schedule. You're going to open with Virginia Tech. Then we can't play Virginia Tech because of COVID. And then we open with Wake Forest, and there was a lot of stuff that went on there. And fall camp started, and then it stopped. And, Devin came back, started playing really well. Then he gets injured. And so there's a lot that's been going on. And so I think the whole team and program, took this opportunity to really sit back and kind of hit reset, look at 5-game season here to finish with 4 or 5 at home. We had great energy in practice last night, and we practiced last night. We'll practice tonight to get used to the PM time frame that we're going to be playing in on Friday. And now there's guys that have opportunities due to the injuries. We're excited for Bailey. I thought he really did a great job coming in the game and playing at the end of last week's game. And Ben will continue to develop and get reps. I'm glad we were able to get him some game reps. But it's Bailey's opportunity, and he's been through a lot. I know he's excited to lead the football team, and he'll do a great job for us. Just studying us on offense, the biggest thing we see is we got to not turn the football over. The last 2 games, we've had 7 turnovers. Over the last 3 years, when we win the turnover margin, we're undefeated as a football program. And so that area of our program has to improve as it was earlier in the season. It's nice to have Justin Witt back. Ricky's back. And so those 2 players return for us. On defense, obviously the 2 games we've played poorly in, there was a lot of missed tackles. And some of that's personnel. Some of it was just working technique. Felt like we didn't get off blocks well in our front and in our linebacker position, our safety position at times in the game last week. And we needed to get healthy. There's 8 players on defense that at one time were in our 2 deep that are out. And for all different reasons. You look at Chris Ingram, who hasn't played, and Tayshawn, who now has another shoulder, his other shoulder. Lewis, who's done for his career. Tanner, who's been in and out with a hamstring. Ashford, who played in 2 games. Khalid Martin, who played in 3. Cayman Cezak, who hasn't played, that was in our 2 deep all through camp. And Jalen Frazier, who got hurt in the spring. There's been a lot of moving parts for those guys. And so we've had to move some people around and cross-train individuals. And this week was really good for them to solidify kind of what we have and what's the best way to rotate and play guys. But, looking at us on defense, besides the tackling, there's just some plays we need to finish, where we're in position to finish plays. And we call them dead plays or making your layups, just simple things that you do in practice that they need to show up on a consistent basis. Beauty of it is we got a great group of guys here. They're awesome to coach. They're very positive. We're focused on what's next, and 1 game at a time. It is a different team personnel-wise than we started with, when you look at the injuries, even to the offensive line. But at the same time, it's a team that has great fight and great chemistry, and it'll battle and strain and work and do everything they can to be their best. And I'm excited to help them get through and compete for these next 5 opportunities. Different segue. Obviously, tomorrow is a big day in our country, and our athletic department has given all of our athletes an opportunity to vote tomorrow if they haven't already and exercise their right to vote, and we support them in that. And just pray that everybody's safe. And obviously, we're still battling the COVID pandemic, and there's just a lot of things going on when you look at the news that, I think all of us need to be very cognizant of keeping each other safe and not making this worse than it is with the COVID pandemic. With that, really excited to play Miami. I think they're a really good football team. Derek King's a tremendous quarterback. They're skilled all over the field. Their defensive front is very disruptive, over 50 tackles for loss in their games, and typical Miami speed that you see on the field. I think King has changed their team. He extends a lot of plays with his legs. He's always going to have good people to throw to. Their tight ends are outstanding. I think, their coaches do a really good job schematically, and offensively they're super up-tempo, so you got to be ready for that. Defensively, they've got electric returners, and obviously Coach Diaz has done a nice job there. So look forward to that challenge and opportunity. Open it up. Any questions?
Brett Friedlander.
Yeah, Dave, given the spark that Ben gave you against Carolina, do you anticipate finding a role for him and using him in addition to Bailey, or are you basically a one quarterback kind of guy?
No, I think there's always opportunities, to have plays for guys, not necessarily there. We haven't solidified that. And obviously I wouldn't want to say that and give Miami any ammo on what we're going to be doing. But, we need Ben to continue to get better. You saw when he had his package of plays, he was, like you said, moved the team. But when things got into a different mode, you could see it was a lot for him. And so we just have to be smart with Ben. And at the same time, Bailey operates our offense really well. I thought he threw the ball terrific in the game. And I think if you're going to do something like that, you just got to be smart about the flow of the game and not let one kid get out of rhythm, because rhythm is a big part of playing that position.
And then as a follow-up, I guess you kind of sort of touched on that. Does Tim alter his play calling strategy depending on which quarterback's in there? And this goes to Devin as well with Bailey. Or is it basically the same thing and these guys just executed this?
No, I think when you get to the end of the week, Tim always asks them what their favorite plays are, what plays are they least comfortable with, and he keeps that in mind on his call sheet. There's certain things that Bailey may like and Ben doesn't. And so even if you're not rotating them, you need to know that, because you're an injury away from the other guy running the show. And so I think the call sheet does change, not really physically as much as mentally. Both of them can roll out right and left, and so that doesn't limit you. But it's more about where they're at, in the mental part of the game, on what they see in the pass game and handling protections and blitzes and all those things.
Thanks, Dave. Good luck this week.
Thank you.
Jonas.
Coach, you kind of touched on the schedule and the way things went last week when you were off. Because this week you guys are playing on Friday and then you guys are off tomorrow, so it's kind of crazy for everybody this week. Was that a kind of a blessing in disguise to be off last week so you can put in some extra work because you knew this week would be crazy and kind of condensed with everything going on?
Yeah, it would have been challenging to play a short week game and have Tuesday off and not have that bye week leading into it. So, we were able to take the time off that the guys needed to get their bodies better, but also to, our first day we were on the field last week was all about us. We spent a lot of time in individual working on fundamental technique, and then we got into some 11-on-11 correction periods to work on things that have hurt us throughout the year or things we want to clean up, and situational too, third down, red zone. We were able to get back into those things. And then the next day we were able to clean up a little bit more and then move into our Miami introduction. And then when we came back last night, it was all about our game plan. So, last night and tonight will be our typical 2 work days of the week with tomorrow off. And then when we come back Wednesday, it's game week Thursday in their mind.
And just a follow-up question about tomorrow, and this might be a better question for the players, but do you know if the players are gathering or going to the polls together? Are you guys organizing anything for tomorrow?
A lot of our guys have voted already and talking to them. I know several of them will vote tomorrow, but, we have so many players that are on absentee ballots because of where they're from that they can't go to their homes, to do that. So I think you'll have a mix of guys voting tomorrow and guys that are not. But there are several players that are doing community service, I know, tomorrow to help out in the community as well. So, we've turned it into a day of not just voting, but some of the guys wanted to get out in the community and help out.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Andrew.
Yeah, I wanted to follow up on the voting question. I know you guys have had your voting initiatives in NC State athletics. What, in your mind, is the importance of voting and of young people understanding that? And what have you said to the team about that?
I didn't have to say much. Pac United led that charge on campus, and our SAC student athletes were very involved in that. I know Isaiah Moore and Grant Gibson. Behind the scenes, we're talking to their teammates about the importance of it. From my standpoint, it's kind of hard to complain about things publicly if you're not a part of the process of electing the official making those choices. And so I think it's just a chance to have buy-in on what you stand for and to learn about the issues that all the different parties represent and, put your name on it. I think that's the biggest thing for these young people to understand, that they do have a big piece of this, and there's so much that affects all of us, for them to be involved in that process. It's important for them.
Corey Smith.
Dave, you mentioned earlier that Justin Witt, returning against UNC, didn't see him on the depth chart. I didn't know if there was any status update for him going into this game or not. Yeah,
that's an error on my part. Sorry about that. Yeah, he will play in this game. Last week he was able to return to practice like Wednesday and had been out a long time. So he only played about 12 snaps in that game. It was more about getting him back in football conditioning. But because Tyrone was out, Derek Eason was out, Tim McKay was out. So our three backup tackles we normally have, and we've had to move Icky back to tackle because of that. When Tyrone went down, it was great to have Justin available, and was proud of him and excited for him, to be back and be able to help us, because I know it's been on the road. He's dealt with a lot of different things injury-wise, so he is in the too deep there.
Okay, another question completely different from that. Manny Diaz obviously has a little bit of history with NC State. You, at this point, haven't faced him as the head coach at Miami. What do you know about his history at NC State, and what have you seen from his defense and that type of philosophy that he brings as the head coach as well? Yeah, I've known Manny a long time. We recruited the same areas in Florida when I was at Wisconsin, got to know him as a coach, and have always respected him, gotten to know his wife. I think they're really good people. I know they love Raleigh. Has a lot of great things to say about his time here. As far as a defensive coach, he's always been very aggressive. Did coach against him in a bowl game when he was at Mississippi State. So, it was a lot of blitzes, defensive line, very aggressive, a mix of man coverage and what we call cover six and man free. But, it's what you would think you'd get from a Miami well-coached defense. They're aggressive. They run to the football, they pressure a lot, and they've got good defensive linemen. Thank you.
Yep.
David, what you got?
Hey, Coach. First, just want to introduce myself. My name's David Thompson, which I know fits.
How are you?
I'm doing good. It's my first day here with USA Today Network. I was just curious. There's some reports for Miami that they've had several players now test positive for COVID. I know there's nothing you personally can do about it, but do you have concerns when a team like that is traveling to play your team?
I think the protocol is in place where we're testing 3 days a week, and particularly testing on Friday before they leave, protect us in that. So, I don't know, going into our 7th game now, I don't feel it's something you deal with every week. We deal with it here. I think we're all under the system of trusting our healthcare and knowing that the tests that are in place protect us all, and not just players, staff. We're all in this thing together.
Casey Hintz.
A big proponent of high school football and playing on Friday nights. Obviously, you've got more on your plate with Miami this Friday, but is that kind of are you more at ease with the circumstance here in North Carolina that it's not taken away from the prep scene this season?
Yeah, absolutely. I know that was something in my 2nd or 3rd year, we had to play UNC on a Friday night, and the North Carolina High School Coaches Association was very unhappy about that for the reasons you mentioned. And I don't think any of us prefer that. Obviously the television contract we're in demands that for the volume of games that we need and the TV. If you ask a college coach, Saturdays are meant for college football and Fridays are meant for high school football. But as you know, that's not always something that we have control over.
Thank you.
Jonas.
Coach, I saw the video, the locker room video after the Carolina game. And you kind of told your team, "Hey, we're 4-2. We're at our bye week. We've got a whole season in front of us. We can still have a really great season." Your team is still kind of young and success is kind of new to them. How do you spread the message of not turning this one loss into a second loss or third loss, so we can still have a really good year moving forward?
You know, we've talked about day-by-day improvement for the year. You know, a loss is always going to count on your record, but what can you learn from it to prevent it from happening again the same way? And that's kind of been the focus. We're not going to go in there and make it the end of the world. We're going to talk about the things we didn't do well, talk about ways we can be better, and then we're going to put a plan in place. And, you know, it's not the players' fault. It's all of our faults. When we don't play well, you know, we're the coaches of those players, and we have to own what happened on the field just like they do. So it's a collective effort to improve. You know, nobody likes losing, particularly when you lose to a rival. But, you know, I think the most important thing in defeat is how you respond. And I think that's something this football team takes a lot of pride in. You know, we've handled a lot of adversity this year, and this team stuck together through all of it. And I don't expect it to be any different moving forward.
Rob McClam. Okay, we'll move to Charlie Mickens.
Good afternoon, Dave.
Hey, Charlie.
A little bit on the same from just now. You have 4-5 games coming up at home. You don't have to. That means you don't have to travel as much. Probably not beat up as much and everything. So talk about the tremendous opportunity you have for your team with 4 or 5 games coming up at home now.
Yeah, well, you know, you have a chance to, one, be in a routine, sleep in your own bed, sleep in your own team hotel, and play in your own stadium, your own locker room, just all those things that go with it. Not get home, you know, like we did after Virginia Tech at 4 a.m. and not miss as many classes because Fridays you're traveling. Like, all that stuff goes into it, and I think it gives our guys a chance to finish very strong. You know, obviously Miami is going to be a tough opponent here coming in, and we're excited about that challenge. But I think, you know, as hard as it was at the beginning, coming out of, you know, a 6-game schedule with 4 of those 6 on the road, and to be 4-2 with all the injuries and things we've dealt with, to know that your 4 of 5 of your finishing games are at home, it puts you in a pretty good place mentally, you know, to have a great finish. Now we got to go get it done, you know, and that's where we're going to have to do a great job here of playing to the best of our ability and guys staying focused and not letting one game affect the next.
And a follow-up to that, do you think that your team now is more adept now through all the things that you've gone through with the COVID stuff and the uncertainty to face that for 6 weeks? You have a break. Now you're kind of like, okay, we can do this now.
Yeah, you know, I don't know. I think we've been through so many things with COVID. It kind of, we've calloused ourselves through this thing for a lot of it, you know, and the routine that we have where you come in, you know, 3 days a week and get mobbed and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's kind of, speaking for myself, the players may say it differently to you, but I'm kind of past it, you know. I mean, we wear a mask. We do all the right things that way. We social distance our meetings, our meals. We do all the things we can to protect each other. And so that hasn't been, you know, as hard as it was the first month where it was all brand new to us.
All right, Rob, you want to try again?
Yeah, you mentioned Miami's defense. I was wondering about guys like they have Roche, they have Blades. It's just some of the defenders that they have that kind of stick out to you.
Yeah, well, I mean, the first thing I'll tell you when I watch their film and their defensive line, you know, Roche and Phillips really jump off the film. I think their nose tackle is a very disruptive guy. Number 1, Silvera, guy plays hard all the time. He's almost blocked 2 punts. I think both their safeties, Bolden and Carter, are big. They're hitters. They're tough guys. You know, they are going to play press. They are going to play press bail coverage. And like I said at the beginning, they're what you think you would see from a Miami secondary. They're aggressive. They're good man-to-man. But it's good personnel. I mean, there's a reason they're 5-1, and they're ranked third in the conference in scoring defense. You know, it's not just because they're doing good things schematically. They've got good players, and you know, when you have 51 tackles for loss in 6 games, that's disruptive on the D line. They're doing some good things there in the front.